Hey everyone, welcome back to another powerful episode of Hobby Mind for the Life. So we'll start today's discussion a bit different, dear listeners. Like, life can bring us to our knees in a ways that we never expected. Trauma, loss, health woes, even losing our homes, right? And yet some people not only survive, but rise as well, bringing their pain forward as wisdom and their story forward as light. So, dear listeners, today's guest is one of those rare voices, I'd say. So, I'm joined by a lovely guest, Asha. So, welcome to the show, Asha.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and hello to everybody in the audience.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, as you know, before we delve deep into the discussion, I always introduce you with our guest. So I love to introduce you with Asha. So Asha is the author of groundbreaking book, The Empath is the Narcissist. So she has spoken on more than 40 podcasts about trauma, resilience, and the emotional intelligence as well. And her story is one of the raw courage, I would say, radical healing, and the incredible reinvention. So, from surviving complex PTSD, homelessness, and even a thyroid and cancer scare to taking first place in a beginning competition just 4 weeks after the Pacific Palisades fires. So, she embodies what it means to find the resilience in the face of chaos. And she's here to share her 4-step resilience ladder and a framework to help both men and women, as well as the leaders and the teams as well, regulate their energy, detach from the pain, and move forward with the purpose. So I'll not take much of your time, dear listeners. So, Asha, welcome to the show, and I'm really honored to hold this space with you today.
You are amazing. Thank you so much for such a beautiful, reflection of my journey. And my gosh, when you hear it like that, you're like, good Lord.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's been quite a powerful journey, but, I think it's really good because I teach PTSD and an understanding of repeating loops and patterns. So going through the journey has been amazing because now I have the insights to help other people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
And I really love that. And also about your book, The Empath is the Narcissist.
Yes.
Has, I'd say, has sparked deep conversation about the trauma and the relationships. So if you could share what inspired you to write it and
Sure.
what message you most want readers to take away.
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. I'm going to start with what I would want people to take away first, keeping the optimism alive. It really comes down to a couple of different key points. Number one, attachments are probably the number one thing that are affecting our journey on a micro level as well as a macro level as a collective. And I think it's far deeper than we've ever really known. And so my goal in this life is to simplify attachments so that people can really understand and comprehend them. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing about the book, The Empath is the Narcissist, is the relationship that we have with love and our own personal power. And I think that's probably the best message I want people to get is when we are putting our power into other people, they become the enemy in our story if they don't really fit into what we want them to do, when we really need to be putting that self-love and that self-worth and that, fill up our own cup. And so how do we actually do that? And that's what the book is all about. Yeah. And I think that you asked what inspired me to write it. Did you ask me that?
Yes. I mean, basically, like what kind of a message people can take away from this?
Yeah. So when I was given the insights to write the book, And the title in itself is very triggering, especially if you've been hurt, quote unquote, by a narcissist. But I started off my life very avoidant. And so I was married, but I was also working a lot and really married to my job. And because of that, I was very avoidant in my relationship in my first marriage. And so I was like working, and there was no love left for my home. And so I was quite avoidant. And then when I noticed that my partner moved away, very far away. So it was interesting because my avoidance was attracting him, that sort of, I can't get her. And then when I turned around and was available for love, perhaps he wasn't on the same frequency anymore. And he then ran away. So it showed me what we call push-pull dynamic. And then I was able to go through the opposite side where I gave away my power to someone, made them an enemy in my story for a little while, and then realized that, this push-pull dynamic is really what takes us off a center. And when we're centered and we're in love and purpose, the two of them together, love and purpose, we will attract the most ideal partner for us. It's awesome.
Exactly. That's pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
And do you see people beginning to reclaim their stories differently after reading it?
Say it one more time.
I mean, do you see any kind of anyone, like people who have read the book, right? They start to reclaim their stories differently, like what they used to have it before reading it and after reading it.
Oh my God, yes. And I also have my community as well, which is called Ignite. And we teach about these so we're either the victim or the victor. Now, when you are in victim, it's very understandable because it hurts. It freaking hurts. You don't want to have a mom that, you're trying to get approval from, or a father that was absent, or, everybody's been given a unique pile of crap. Everybody's been given their own piles, some piles far worse. The truth is that if my pile was, like the emotion's still the same. And what I've noticed over and over again is we are really good at purpose and money and, purpose, but not so much at the love piece. So when we change those stories about these outside people, we actually start to love ourselves more. So the same results happen with everybody who is my client or reads the book. They get better looking, and they, feel more aligned to be confident in their purpose. And then they attract better relationships because they're not as attached to these bad stories. So what I try to do is change the bad story into like a really awesome story. And then you tell that story, but I do it through DNA and energy work. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's so empowering, I guess, because it reminds us that our path, our past basically doesn't define us. We can tell our stories without relieving the pain. I mean, it's a very important part, I would say. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that you shared that, because when I found out that I was avoidant, it's not easy to look at. I fell into a period of I was ashamed. I was ashamed that I was too much and that I was too masculine and I was too powerful, or because I was like a CEO. And so I was maybe I shouldn't be a CEO. Maybe I'm too masculine. But I started to tell myself these stories because I was so ashamed. And I think that's a really important piece, especially for men. When we're facing the shadow, you're going to have to be embarrassed. You have to have self-empathy. You have to have self-love. Otherwise, you won't even get through the story because you'll be afraid to look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shadow work is not easy.
Not easy.
Definitely. It is, though. I mean, it is and it isn't. Because also equally on the other side of it, I always say, forget it. It's emotions. Just go through them. Go through them and hold more money and be more powerful and help more people.
I can understand totally. Definitely. And from that angle, like your story touches as a trauma, grief, depression, intimacy, and even the woman's health as well. So, do you think from that perspective, like, do you think our culture uh, still avoids these conversations? I mean, sure.
God, such a good question.
Uh,
So, it's interesting that you bring this up because I work with so many leaders in corporate.
okay.
And yeah, and you know what? They do. And it's shit, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, look at the leadership situation we're in right now. And everybody wants to throw tomatoes at the leader, but every single problem we have starts in the bedroom.
Uh,
And so why are you throwing tomatoes at a leader when you could pour that love into your partnership and the two of you can become the leaders of the planet? Because
yeah.
when you have a lot of love and unification in the
Right.
house, then everything solves itself. In fact, it's a great question because this morning I met a man and he's like, yeah, I live
Okay.
in California. And he's like, oh, Los Angeles is a dump. It's crumbling. And I said, yeah, but it's crumbling because it's being rebuilt. Right now it's being built. Everything's run on the souls of humans. Like everything's run on tyranny. The only way to fix tyranny is through love. It's not through getting mad at the leader. He's tyrannical. It's saying, okay, well, that man has stepped up or that woman has stepped up and they've got shadow.
True.
And everybody does. So how about we help them instead of cursing them? And then when we hit the head of the snake, everybody's going to feel the shifts. And that's why I moved to LA, because I just, a lot of people, when they get over spiritual, they might be like, revolt the system, rah. And I'm like, well, why don't we just fix the system? So I have a very unique perspective. And so to answer your question, yeah, unfortunately it is taboo. And I really would like to be a voice through that where it's like, come on, you know better than I do that it's going to start with your family. If you don't like your wife or you don't like your husband, we got to talk about that. You got a problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I totally love that. And also, so I mean, from there, like where, like you mentioned about you tell everyone to share it, and I mean, without any hesitation. So, how do you encourage them, like, to share it very openly?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So it's unique. When I'm working with businesses, I don't come in with that lens because number one, my method's going to make you a ton of money. So it's going to make the outcome is favorable for investors and CEOs because when you have a team of highly integral, calm, regulated people that are not just regulated at work, but they're regulated at home, you're going to make more money. That is going to happen. You're going to be an extremely magnetic place to work. So I kind of go in with that lens with certain audiences. And then I also work with human resource departments and we talk about in women's emotional regulation. And we will talk about the human side, the connection, the empathy, the love, because that's also what my work does. And then every once in a while, I will do an event where we are able to talk about in my private coaching as well, where I work with leaders one-on-one, or I have my community. We bring all that out in my community. So you kind of have to read the room. But the cool thing about emotional intelligence is not only is it money, it's love, but it's also health. I'm a bikini model as well. And so sometimes the audience, I work with athletes and they're talking about mindset and getting through sort of like these heavy mindset and limiting beliefs because they have big goals and aspirations. So emotional intelligence is cool and resilience because it covers all of those things. Yeah.
I agree. So the what changes when people finally detach from the pain and start saying, yes, I'm here, I have something to say.
Oh, I love that. So a couple things, actually. These are such great questions, first of all. So a couple things. Let's say you work with me and you have like this huge aha moment and you're like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be, on the stage in front of 100 people. You might get a surge of what we call personal power and start taking action toward that. And then you could have, a girlfriend or a sister or a dad that comes over and says, hey, no, you're terrible. And if you get on stage, people are going to make fun of you because whatever.
Yeah.
And you might go, oh my God, they're right. And then you could go back in to your home.
Yeah. And again,
now,
rethink about it.
Yes. And kind of sabotage yourself, because the fear of being seen is just as deep as the fear of not being seen. So we kind of wrestle back and forth. So that's one thing that could happen. So what we're doing with this work is we're expanding you over and over. So someone might come to me and say, I want to make $50,000 a month on my online business. And I'll say, okay, well, have you made $10,000 a month on your online business? And if the answer is no, we have some work to do to get you to the 50,000. My work goes very fast because we go so deep into your energy. So what would normally take somebody to get to 50K, could take them years. For me, I can see changes in my clients within, 8 to 12 weeks. So you kind of have to play. And then sometimes clients will leave and maybe even make me the enemy in their story because they didn't make the money, or they didn't do this, or they didn't do that. But then they'll come back and they'll be like, oh shit, I think it was me, So you kind of get to see a little bit of all of that. And I think you probably understand what I'm talking about with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you want to be ascending, going up. So what I always say to people is, you have blind spots when your money, you can measure in your money, your body, and your love life. And if all of those aren't feeling really good and full and detached and regulated, then you've got more work to do on your emotional intelligence and your awareness. No big deal. Yeah.
Okay. And that's liberating, because vulnerability doesn't weaken us. It's often the source of our deepest strength. So that's amazing. That's really amazing. And
I love that. That's so good and so true.
Exactly. And one more thing, this might sound contradictory, but actually not. I'm thinking from that perspective. Some people might say that resilience frameworks, or the emotional intelligence, it sounds good in therapy, or maybe it sounds good in the theory purpose as well. But when you are in the middle of losing your house, uh, or say facing the health cares or the health scares, isn't it too hard to actually apply? So how will you respond to them?
Oh my gosh. You have such excellent questions. That was a really thoughtful question, actually. Yeah. So basically what you're saying is it can be good in practice, and we're happy you and I can be talking about it here, but how do we apply it in real life?
Exactly.
So number one, the first thing is when an event is happening. Okay. So the cool thing about emotional intelligence and understanding what emotional intelligence is, it's the ability to identify your emotions in the moment. So back in the day, 5 years ago, I've only been on the spiritual path 5 years. So I'm very much an embodiment of my work. I was erratic, and I would let my emotions sort of run the show. I still believe you have to make space for your emotions. I move my emotions intentionally each day. So when you do this, when you decide that you want to do this as a practice, like you would go to the gym, like you would cook your own dinner every night, it's a commitment to your emotional intelligence. You're changing the neuroplasticity in your brain. So what happens when you are building your prefrontal cortex, which is where we send out we receive the signal through our amygdala, which is the base of the brain. We receive the event. So let's say house burns down, right? Okay. Now the event is oh my God, shock. And then interestingly, we evacuated, and then our Airbnb burned down, me and my son. So we actually had to evacuate twice on the day of the Palisades fires. It was very scary for me. And I was scared. I was feeling scared. So I'm getting the signal through the back of my brain. And what I say now is, oh my gosh, I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling nervous. I'm feeling unstable. But nonetheless, because I'm in a very dangerous situation or perception of a dangerous situation, we get what we call an amygdala hijack and it floods our mind. Now, this can also happen if you meet a totally hot chick, right? You meet a really hot chick and you're like, oh my God, this is my wife, and we can get that same flooding. Okay. So we are not in a state we are in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We're out of our natural state. And that's okay because that's the human experience.
Exactly.
When we have emotional intelligence and we have actively decided to exercise this, the bounce back from the event to regulation is very, very short. And in that shortness, you're feeling the emotion. In my case, I was teaching as well because I was teaching my students because I wanted to. And on top of it, you get to gather wisdom. So the 4-step resilience model was built in the fires because I said, wait, we don't want strong leaders. Strong actually means grip or tighten. What's resilience mean? And resilience means elasticity, flow. So I said, what is the difference? And the difference is feeling your emotions. And when you're resilient, you feel the emotion. So the pattern doesn't repeat. And so you've got to give yourself that ability to like go deep into the feeling. And I honor that. And I really honor that. And that's what makes you be in the moment, appreciating what's happening in the moment, feeling the emotion, and then releasing like the emotional story to it. And that's where vulnerability is born. And I like to speak about these things, I think it helps people. I'll give you another example. Let's use an extreme example. Let's say there's one of the men that I work with, and he's a very powerful leader. And he has, I'm going to say it, like a porno addiction or something that he's addicted to right now.
Exactly.
Sometimes people will shame him for that. Now, there is a level of integrity we need to meet, but what we want him doing is feeling through the addiction. Maybe he feels shame. Maybe he feels ignored by his partner at home. Maybe he feels deeply sad or scared. So I'll work with him on those emotions. And then the goal is to get him to then get on the other side so then he can help other people because there's so many men that feel like that in the moment. And we know that because men's suicide is up. So, and so is teen suicide is up. So these outcomes are because we're lacking the vulnerability and the ability to hold each other in these emotions. And so my leadership style is very much to share along the way what it takes to be high value comes from your emotional regulation. It's what it is. And your beauty comes from there, and your charisma and your leadership essence. This is the type of leadership that we need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So what suggestion you would like to give to the listeners today? I mean, one advice.
So I have a thing that really is very helpful for people. I'd love to share it. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to change the stories that you may be saying to yourself that you don't even know what you're saying. Right? So let's say like, I don't have enough money. And so what normally manifestation techniques would be like, change the story, say, I am abundant, I am abundant. And that's fine, but it's going to take you 9,000 million years. So what you want to do instead, that's it. So what you want to do instead, we all have chakra system. We have energy in our body. So what you can do is you can say, okay, I don't have enough money. And then you write down the 3 emotions that you feel around your relationship with money. So let's say that's your story. Okay. I don't have enough. We're not going to have enough. You might feel anxious, scared, maybe even mad because what the hell, God, why am I the broke one, right? We get angry. So let's say it's that anxiety, you feel fear because, this is a fundamental need. And you also feel pissed off, right? So you get these 3 emotions. So then you write down the story. I don't have enough money. You write down the three emotions. In this case, it's anxiety. Uh, what was it again? Anxiety, fear, and
Okay.
anger. And then what I want you to do is set a timer for 90 seconds, and you can even play music if you want to.
Okay. Okay.
And you feel each emotion for 90 seconds. So you isolate each emotion. It's almost like you're at the gym. Let's say you're working on like
Uh-huh.
your lats.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
do 3 sets, right? So you're
Correct.
doing 90 seconds on each emotion and you're feeling it. And I want you to visualize it coming out of your chakras, coming out of your root, coming out of your body. Like you're shooting it out. It's energy. What people do is they're like, oh, I don't want to feel mad or I don't want because it's uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, get there, go there, scream it out, be
Uh,
crazy because you're doing it to get the energy out of your body. After you do that, you then write a letter. Maybe you write a
yeah.
letter to maybe you write a letter to your dad. Maybe something comes up and you're like, oh my God, I feel this way because my dad was always talking about money being not enough, whatever, right? You'll have an
Yeah.
insight, maybe you won't. And you write a letter and you can say, like, thank you for, taking care of me, money. I can't wait to welcome more of you in my life. You can also say, Dad, F you. You're the worst. You can write whatever you want. You write a letter. And then
Yeah.
after you write the letter, you burn it. Okay. And this is actually, believe it or not, in motion
Uh-huh.
detachment. So
Okay.
when I have clients do this, they get money, they lose weight, they have these insane openings because this is tangible, real stuff that you can do to manifest faster.
It's a great learning, I would say. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so
That's
good,
a
right?
great learning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
That's
like I said, a lot of these manifestations things on
uh,
YouTube and stuff, they're great, but we're like, how do you? It
yeah,
just can take you a really long time. You got to regulate your
exactly.
nervous system. Yeah, if you
Exactly.
keep doing manifestation, but you still have that deep rooted fear or anger
Uh,
or sadness, you're gonna just manifest more of that. You got to get to the root of the problem first. So do that before you do any of those YouTube things.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
Amazing.
fun.
Amazing. Asha, thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom with us today. And I'd say your journey proves that resilience is not just about bouncing back, it's all about rewriting the rules of how we rise and using both the emotional intelligence and the energy as our guides. So, for all the listeners, I'd like to mention like, if you have faced a trauma, grief, or burnout, let this be your reminder. Like, you are not broken. Your story has the power. Pick up a copy of The Empath is the Narcissist and explore the 4-step resilience ladder because healing is possible and your light is definitely waiting to shine. So, I'll not take much of your time. And I believe this conversation was really, really great and really, really helpful. Do let us know what you think about the discussions we had today. I'd love to listen to your perspective on the social media and other podcast platforms. And with this hope, until next time, this is your host, Awake, reminding you that a healthy mind, healthy life began with we choose resilience not as a reaction, but as a way of living. So, thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.